Hi there, Capricorn. I'm EllaAradia, and welcome to your January 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Capricorn Earth signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading. It's going to resonate a little bit differently for all of you. What I find though is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Capricorn signs. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoy this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you get notified when the next videos are up. So Capricorn, let's jump in. So I always like to tune into the energies first before I start pulling cards. I feel like you're dealing with someone who is a little bit back and forth. There's mixed signals, just these very kind of open, closed energies. And I do feel for many of you, it might be causing a little bit of heartbreak, because I do feel like this is someone that you have very deep feelings for. It feels like a very strong connection. It feels like a soulmate connection to me. And someone that you have really kind of given your heart to, invested your energy into, and you know, wanting it to go to the next level. But I feel like the person you're dealing with is, you know, hitting some kind of wall here around opening up. I feel like you're dealing with someone who, you know, may have some trauma in their past. Feels like they very much brought, you know, issues into the connection that, you know, they are really not kind of healed from. And this is what happens, you know, when things start to move to the next level, then that involves opening up the heart, opening up, allowing ourselves to be seen, trusting. And I just feel like you're with someone who opens up a little bit, but then kind of folds back in on themselves because it doesn't feel safe. And I do feel like you see the potential in this person. And, you know, it does feel to me like a very powerful connection. But what I keep feeling here is it's almost like they are a little bit at a distance. A little bit, they're there, but they're unavailable. And I see the word familiar, family. I was going to say she, it can be either, but they feel like family. And what I'm feeling about this connection is it is a soulmate connection, but it might not be that this person is meant to stay. It may be that they have come into your life to help you heal and help you learn certain soul lessons, because the heartbreak that's going on, the feelings that are coming up, this sadness, the feelings of, you know, feeling unloved or abandoned, I feel that that traces back into your childhood. There may have been a parent who was there but at a distance, or was there but wasn't, you know, wasn't really available. And it may be a parent that, you know, left, and, you know, there are these wounds, these, you know, an abandonment wound I'm feeling unloved. And the thing is, you know, when we're young like that, we tend to form that as our definition of love. And so we recreate what feels familiar. because that's the feeling I get from this person that you're connected to, is they feel like family. And, you know, they're there, but at a distance. You know, there's something about that feels familiar. And with your overall energies, we have the Hanged Man. This is all about, you know, seeing things from a different perspective, taking a step back. And it's more about, you know, looking more outside of yourself, as in your situation. And I feel perhaps understanding the spiritual lessons, you know, the reasons on a deeper level as to, you know, what is happening in this situation, your connection with this person. So you're being asked to take a pause, to take a step back, and to perhaps look at things a little bit differently. What lies in your recent past, the Nine of Pentacles. Your current energies, the Four of Swords. Now, for some of you, with that Nine of Pentacles, it does often relate to, you know, family, career, home, but it's also a card of independence. And, you know, it may be that some of you are in a moment of no contact or separation, where you have found yourself, you know, on your own. And you may be taking a step back, going within at this time to regain your energy, because I do get the sense that you have kind of lost yourself a bit in this. And I do feel like you've given a lot of your energy to this connection, to this person. And, you know, sometimes moments of separation are important so that we can regain our energy, we can go within. You know, this is all about healing and, you know, getting in touch with your true feelings, so that moving forwards, you can make a decision from, you know, a better place inside of yourself. Your feelings towards your situation, the Hierophant. Traditionally, you know, it's a card of faith. It's also a card of commitment. And, you know, it may be that you have been waiting on a commitment from this person, for things to, you know, go to some kind of next level, to a deeper level. That's where they've hit a block. But it's also a card of keeping faith. What lies in your challenge is the Ten of Cups. Letting go of the potential. Because the Ten of Cups is... it's kind of this happily ever after energy, you know, wishes granted, wishes fulfilled, emotional contentment. Dreams come true. And I do feel that the person you're dealing with, you know, this is someone that you had down as a life partner. You saw the potential, you saw what it could be. And I do feel sometimes it's difficult to let go of that. You know, when we have an idea of how we think something is going to turn out. With your hidden influence, we have the Queen of Wands. And this may be the person that you're dealing with here, Capricorn. You know, the Queen of Wands, it's very much this, you know, fire energy, passionate energy, usually indicates a, you know, a sexual, physical attraction. And to me, it feels like all of that is still there, but what is missing is things moving to a deeper level, you know, the emotional fulfillment. And, you know, like I said, I do feel like this is a soulmate bond. But I do get the sense that it may be more about just learning these soul lessons. In love reading, the Hierophant is really about connections which, you know, you have shared values with that person. You build those strong foundations based off of that. With your advice from the universe, the Six of Pentacles. And as an advice card, you know, this is all about these energies of give and take, giving and receiving, and the balance of those two energies within a connection, you know, with a dynamic that might be going on. And, you know, right now to me, it does feel very one-sided. You know, I do get the sense of you carrying the connection and, you know, continuing to kind of pour your energy into this person, you know, they're, you know, sort of keeping on doing that in the hopes of, you know, something changing, getting that commitment, getting this ultimately, you know, this Ten of Cups with this person. But the question is, you know, how long do you keep doing that? There might be a little bit of fear around, you know, letting go of that dream of, you know, the potential with this person, a fear of it ending, losing that love, and sometimes of just, you know, a fear of just being on your own perhaps and having to kind of deal with those emotions that I talked about earlier of heartbreak and sadness and, you know, feeling abandoned. But that may be, you know, where you need to go, because there is an invitation around, you know, becoming more whole and more complete in yourself, investing in yourself, and loving yourself and choosing yourself. Because what happens is, you know, very often when we have this abandonment wound and we're in these dynamics that kind of feel like family, but, you know, they feel familiar in that way. But there is this sense of being unloved and abandoned. Very often we abandon ourselves in the hopes of being loved. And so until you can start choosing yourself, Capricorn, you know, you may find that the same pattern just kind of plays out, because once you start choosing yourself, your vibration changes. And once you start pouring into yourself and loving yourself, that's when you can attract a connection that can pour back into you and mirror that back to you, because other people are always our mirrors. And so if you're with somebody who isn't able to really open up and embrace the connection, it does often mirror perhaps still a little unhealed part of yourself that you still need to work on. And, you know, whatever the outcome of this, that is the most important thing to do, I feel, is work on yourself, work on your side of this. Because sometimes when you shift, your energy changes and it creates an invitation for your person to shift. And sometimes that can happen, or sometimes it is about just letting something close up, moving on, and just trusting that that will lead you, you know, to a connection, to a person that, you know, really can love you back. And in your outcome, we have the Sun, clarity, happiness, joy, often a card of success and really approaching life, you know, with an open heart. And it's a very, very, you know, powerful energy of creation and potential, you know, whether that is with this person or whether that's you on your own. I do feel that that is, you know, whatever happens, you stepping back into your power and just trusting, you know, as long as you do the work, as long as you do the inner work on yourself, you know, it will lead you ultimately to what is going to bring you that joy and happiness of the energies of the Sun card there. So Capricorn, I'm going to leave it there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.